Celestial event. No. No words. No words. To describe. I should have said. The poet. So beautiful.
Our family is filled with poetesses and poets, musicians, co-secretary generals, co-sebiras, healers, equinox tributes.
These are the spiritual as much as physical voyages of the co-federation solar, sun, our starship, planet Earth, restored to heaven on our and every earth as our spiritual, genealogical, local, global, universal voyager in shared her and his family community enterprise. Our new millennial year's mission to rediscover and re-understand, sustain, and explore are and all are in fact familiar new worlds of family community, of the tree of love, life, and light throughout the solar system and universe, to restore, renew, and sustain our and new life and new sustainable civilizations, past, present, retroactively, and now, balance, and future, always balancing, to lovingly, genealogically, and boldly become and be space-time travelers whenever and where we have interdimensional reality, all in part been before, if also never been before, in alternative space lines that are circles, which are of the universal EQ, IQ, and SQ continuum, balance, combinations of the ever-expanding circle which spirals and grows, budding and blooming in space-time. Love and live enlightened, ever young, long, and prosper all, both in each and every one. Engage your heart, mind, soul, and body. For we all, both in each, and each, both in all, can, must, miraculously make it so.
In the thunder's blast, she merges, her eyes on fire, the mighty priestess. She is risen from the nativity of Kandra. She is risen from the fires of the earth. She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
She is risen. She is risen.
We are risen.
We all are risen by my intercession, and then you will join me soon. Risen without having to die first.
महालक्ष्मी मृडप्रिया महारूपा महापूज्या महापातकनाशिनी महामाया महासत्व महाशक्ति महारथी महाभूता महेश्वर्या महावीर्या महाबला महाबुद्धि महासिद्धि महायोगेश्वरेश्वरी महातंत्र महामंत्र महायंत्र महासना महायागक्रमाराध्या ओम महाभैरवपूजिता महेश्वर महाकल्पक महातांडव साक्षिणी महाकामेशमतिथि महात्रिपुर सुंदरी चतुष्षष्टि उपचाराढ्या चतुष्षष्टि कलामयी महाचतुष्षष्टिकोटियोगिनी गणसेविता
not words to describe. I should have said, oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. People need to see what I see. They need to see.
Our family filled with poetesses and poets, musicians and healers, co-secretary generals, co-sefiras, equinox true Qs will soon be joining me on these broadcasts, and you will understand that I have given you the prescription to save your planet and your soul and everyone's planet and soul and souls and planets.
This day I call the heavens and the earths as witnesses intercessorily for and hopefully and prayerfully not against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose love and life right, so that you and your children may live. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not our new millennial law.
Okay. I've got a concentration. Maybe May sunflowers, the one for the tea waxes. This is Anna Marie singing Christmas, and I am Cherokee, Cheyenne, Blackfoot, and Algonquin, Minnesota. And I am also a French, English, and German. Et to create our Yassine. That means we are all related. We embrace the new millennial golden rule as the law of all the natives of the sacred ground, that is Mother Earth, and all the planets of all the universes.
Bear with us a moment.
Yeah.
Would you like to say
A happy day.
a happy day with the new millennial golden rule that you and Anna Marie and I have delivered to the entire world at the home that was the hat store that gathered women in the heartland? You know that?
Uh-huh.
All right. Now, is Anna Marie there? Well, there we heard from a part of the marvelous, miraculous White Calf Buffalo women team of Ma Patricia and Anna Marie, Ma Patricia Sunflower and Anna Marie singing cricket, Anna Marie singing cricket and Ma Patricia Sunflower. There are things occurring in their system over there in that part of the world, which we're going to be addressing with them today. The larger system is affecting the two of them, and it in a very interesting pattern right now. And we know that they're going to be coming to more of our broadcasts. They've already co-hosted about 4 of them together. I want to make sure you know you can call in on the conference line. It's at 641 715 383, excuse me, 645 715 3580, access code 773342. And I'm going on there right now, and if you call in, I should be able to hear you. Here, I'll take it off of mute, and I'm gonna take it off of the screen share for the moment. And there I am holding up the the marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers and the heart light. And you're to share that with everyone and enjoy it yourselves. I love you so much, and I'm sending this message. Hi, Vanessa and Harlan Luz Levis and Vanessa, and of course Julia Marie and Georgine and all our Shekinah and all our family and community, female and male, age 37 and younger. First go first, and I am broadcasting, and you can see the home that was the hat gathering place for the women, and they also brought their children and youth of the community for many decades in the heartland, and that is where I have figured out is the place in North America most likely to first open a Stargate. And I have figured this out in a very deep systemic way. I have, a PhD in family and community systems. I believe I'm a partial reincarnation of the mother of one of our Shekinah who came into our family through one of our famous Shekinah who came in Chicago, who was living in the same areas as our grandma Ray and Harriet and all of their generations there. Lynn Margulies was married to Carl Alexander Sagan. Lynn Alexander Margulies married Carl Alexander Sagan, and his mother was named Rachel. And many believe that the character in Contact is created upon her. But I have a deeper systems understanding this because I have a social science background, and I know for us to fulfill the astronomical science and the geobiology sciences, we need the social sciences. And the other thing I'm combining them with, she did marry into the Margulies family, and that family has to do with silicon. It has to do with the use of sand to make computers, solar panels. It's a crystallographer family, and we are a cosmic Christ allographers. We're making a new story for the family of the world by telling a new story, which is one of gender parity, dating it back to when the people gathered for hats. Only this time we're making their hats, and all of them, female and male, are going to wear the hats of common sense of the Statue of Liberty, who is also the goddess of Atlantis, Astrea, or the goddess of divine justice with mercy. That is who she is. And so we're doing that, and we move back in time, not only a couple hundred years, well, a couple of decades, and then a couple of 100 years, and a couple of 1,000 years, and then we're projecting forward into our time, as if everybody had always lived as they did in Atlantis, with balance of gender instead of patriarchy, parity instead of patriarchy. So you two are both, and you're not alone. You have a circle of young Shekinahs, very important to you, Hadass and Soma and Rachel Marie and Danielle Juliet and others. I'm actually broadcasting. I didn't put this on mute, but I'm going to put it on mute now. Okay. say this, and I'm off of mute, so you can hear me saying this, and I'm holding up everything. I say, huge hugs, huge hugs, huge hugs, huge hugs. Okay. And of course, I've been in touch with everybody today, and you know that you're included and you're very, very much co-diamonds. Okay, now we're going to do the actual ceremony. Just want to put on, hold on one second. Hi, all who may be listening in on this extension is the stereo version of what is about to occur as I am broadcasting right now, and you can hear me saying this if you're watching on Hangouts on Air. Excuse me. If you're watching on Hangouts on Air. And meet me in there. That's what we all expected would happen, and that's what is happening. Now, we all can be cosmic Christ. Everybody can be a world savior, a savior of the world and worlds and their own soul by simply embracing and sharing the new millennial golden rule. We already had Ma Patricia on this broadcast. She was participating in this broadcast a little bit, and Anne Marie was right there, and we're going to be having them again soon. We're assisting them with some technical problems that they're having on their end, but we're going to help them sort that out, and they'll be back to broadcast with us all soon. We also, as you know, are inviting some, and have invited and are continuing to invite some very likely participant women who are quite well known, in addition to those of our family tree more directly who are quite well known, including those who are also connected to not only Lynn Margulies, but also her first mate and the opener of the Stargates in educative imagining that is not based in it's not a fairy tale. The Stargates are not a fairy tale. They're based in very solid physics, and they came out of the work of the Merrick Einstein and I'm going to call it Goldenberg Rosen family, and therefore they know something on all kinds of physics, have been working on this for a long time. But the reason the physicists can't get it is because God is God, understands we need to put together the social science and the comparative religion with the physics, or we don't get the answer. That's why there's a character in that film by the name of Joss. But what that character didn't know was the important aspect of God's theology. And now we have that. We have that peace. That's why the Statue of Liberty, the Atlantis figure who stands on the Atlantic, is telling us something about true balanced ability, and the ability they were so great at seafaring, we're going to be great at spacefaring as well as seafaring. And of course, we have the internet to connect us without even having to get on a boat or an airplane or a spaceship. We can connect. We'll be able to connect from planet to planet based on the internet. I'm telling you, this is true, but you are not quite getting what I'm trying to get to. So you're going to hear the ceremony and benefit from it, I hope. And of course, I say this in honor. We've included all the families, the women that you know of, and I'm going to save them in just a minute. And you'll be hearing me do the ceremony. And let me think if there's anything else. So you have individual extensions. You can also check. Some of you know that. And you know, you can also reach me at, in the regular way. You call me anytime. And also very much want you as co-hostesses and young co-hostesses and co-hosts. Our poetesses and our poets become, all of you also musicians, become co-saviorahs, co-secretary generals, become equinoxes, true cues. So now I'm going to do the ceremony, and I'm putting this on so that you can hear it in stereo while I do it. I'm going to show the hat, the home that was the hat store again right now, that gathered the women and all the people of community. And beneath it are some of our other homes that we currently live in, to know that these are satellites of insight, that if we have the understanding of the importance of gathering women for a community and for democracy, we can bring that genius to every community wherever we are right now. We can connect our communities and our homes via the intranets, and also gather, and when we have time to plan and we're not so busy running around like chickens without our heads to pay bills to corporations that are paying off a couple of they're not zillionaires, they're billionaires. They're billionaires. These billionaires are bilking everybody, and they're depriving themselves of being true zillionaires because they are depriving themselves of eternal life by what they're doing. So you're not doing them any favor by rushing around so much to pay your bills. Okay, let's listen to this. And we'll play the tape. The most important thing is we play the tape of two sisters talking about two sisters and talking about protecting children and youth and gathering community. That's what we hear in this tape. It's a precious pearl of a tape and excerpt, and there's more to this tape. And when we all come on together online, we can go frame by frame of the tape and listen to it and talk about the different times that we've all lived in, the different times for women, the different times for men, what they all have to do with issues like genocide and waste and illness and all the things that have afflicted families and people that we know and love and loved back to the beginning of time, and how to correct it by parity instead of patriarchy.
And then she said she couldn't use the maid for everybody. Did you listen to that? Yes, when she came back and started to tell the events that the center. Her whole love was to trap her children there. This is what she did. The girl was so easy just to get along, have enough to eat. She was careful, very careful. And there was a sister, Clara.
Okay, there you have that excerpt, and now we're back, and I'm going to do this ceremony. Let me get the screen so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, right now we're showing the graphic of the home that was the hat store gathering. We're showing it with the Statue of Liberty, the breastfeeding mother, the Native American woman, the woman of color, the sisterhood gathered the three women together. If you're watching me online, you can see me with the pointer showing this, the three sisters together. That is likely one or two sisters of a family in a kazina, or it could be three kazinas, or it could be three sisters within a family. Anywhere you get three women together, you have the beginning of the empowerment. Then next to it, we have the group of, it looks like about 7 to 11 women of all of our family and of different heritages, gathering in a beautiful setting of nature, a beautiful nature scene. We have the Fountain of Youth, and we have the Stargate, and we have a kind of generic young woman and young man. But really, if I had more room on this, I would show the young woman and the young man both with all of their lines of branches of Shekinah behind them, because this is the Eleusinian Mysteries, and the Eleusinian Mysteries were officiated by women. It was a huge number of women who put this together, and they invited the entire city-states of Atlantis, of the Isle of Crete, and all of the many involved areas of Europe and North Africa that were touched by Atlantis. And maybe some people think they came to North America too. We don't really know that. Some people theorize that the Atlantis people actually reached North America. We don't know. Maybe they did have interaction with Native Americans. We really don't know that. That's speculation, but we do know for sure that they reached North Africa, and they reached a huge area around the Balkans and Middle Europe and even Northern Europe, and they were very successful at their seafaring, and they also had no army, no navy, no armaments whatsoever, and they were the longest survived civilization on the planet of this earth that ever was. So you think we might learn something from them? You think you might? Okay, so that's why we're doing the Eleusinian Mysteries. And now we have on the graphic all of our great and grandmothers. We have Clara, we have Ray, we have Harriet, and next to her a little slightly smaller but very important, who has the Alzheimer's now, Jackie. We have Rose. We don't know of her mother and sister. We really should have Marie here, and I'll put a picture, but there isn't a lot of room here to get so many that you can see who they are. So there's Rose, Risen Rose, and she has a whole line of Zal. And next to her is Antoinette. We really should Antoinette a little bit closer. But Antoinette has a huge number of women children and young and men children who gave birth to more females than males, and a very intergenerationally important figure. And we have a very outstanding Shekinah on both the Margulies and the Silverkind branches. Really outstanding women, and that includes you. And then we have Dorothy. We have a very outstanding Feldmarian family. So we have, all of these families and their branches of women. And then we have Lynn Margulies, and she married into the family of the Stargates. That's the sweet Sagan family. And so we are gathering all of these women so that we discuss the Atlantis civilization, use common sense, which was what was given to everyone in North America in January and February of 1776, but they ignored it because their media, as then as now, was controlled by old men. At that time, the women were not literate in large numbers. In our time, they're literate, but they're not thinking. They're too busy being drones, working for lousy corporations and lousy work environments, where they're treated as second-class citizens and getting whatever kind of credit they can get from an occasional father figure because they're hungry for that. And so they're not living to their full potential as goddesses as they would have in Atlantis. And this also goes back further to the Vedic civilization of India, which is on some of our other branches of family are coming through the Feldmarian line at very minimum, and also likely through the Zalkind and the Silverkind lines of our family. And the Margulies line goes back to, of course, to ancient Israel and also to Heraklion, to Atlantis itself. And so you see here our Shekinah. I'm showing with the pointer our circle of Shekinah. You know who you all are. I'll give your names in a minute. And then next to that, on the like a horizontal infinity sign, on the other side is our youth, female and male, that we're also as Shekinah goddesses going to anoint along with ourselves into eternal life, goddesshood, and goddess and godhood. And then here you see the divine democracy symbol of the New Millennial Confederation. We have the picture of the world with the yin yang symbol in balance, and we have the picture of the light of the sun and all the stars, showing that they do emerge out of the interaction of yin and yang. And if you just try to have a yang society, it just collapses in on itself. It has nothing to hold it up. There's no binding force. So that's what we're lacking in our society. We have no binding forces. And everybody's such a rugged individualist, and everybody's, especially the women, are so busy avoiding one another that they're not getting gender parity here, even though billions of women around the world already have it. And they're not getting the kind of family leave that billions of women around the world already have, 3 and 4 years, and for many millions in Europe. And they're not getting the environmental protections that many people around the world, especially in Europe and some other countries in Latin America, also already have. So you got to wake up, ladies. You're way behind, and there's a reason for that. And partly was because I wasn't in Chicago, and we all had a diaspora for there in the heartland, but we have to wake up. So now I'm going to do the ceremony. I would say as many names as I can think of. Okay, the light is on in all our hearts. We have with us marvelous, miraculous, budding, blooming flowers and water. Hugs and love to all, both and each and everyone, as soon as possible. And as you know, we started out this this broadcast with a little bit of assistance from Patricia Sunflower, who was right next to Anna Marie, who heard us also and also sends her love and codes. As soon as she and we help her with some technical problems, you're going to hear from her again, and both of them again. And so I'll say, Mitakuye Oyasin, we are all related. It becomes Mitakuye Kose Reall. Namaste. The divine within me greets the divine within you. Let me say that again. Namaste. The divine within me, the goddess, especially within women, but who is also in men. And the God aspect is also within women to some extent, and the goddess aspect, and the God aspect is certainly in men, but the goddess aspect is certainly necessary for men. What are they going to do with that X chromosome? Just ignore it? You can't do that. You get real sick. So, okay, so we say that. We say, Bahava l'chaim shalom, salam, salam, shalom, no more fratricidal warfare caused by the ignoring of sisters. Guess what? Sarah, Hajara, and Keturah were sisters. They were Kazinas. They all were coming from intertwined family branches, and yet they all took a second fiddle to some guy, and it got us all off on the wrong foot. They ignored Atlantis, and they developed a patriarchal structure, and it got them into lots of trouble, and it's getting them into lots of trouble right now. All of those branches are in big trouble, all of them, because they're patriarchal and not egalitarian. And so we'll say that, and we'll say merci. The French have significant gender parity, but not quite fully all the way, because they're being pulled down by the dumbness going on here in North America. And they have it in every city, though. They're in every city and every political party that is major and doesn't want to pay a huge fine in France has gender parity. And we have, of course, the India, the culture of India, Namaste, all of the villages of India have gender parity and intersectional justice and representation. So we're talking about 500 million people there at the village level. And they are making decisions. They're deciding to go solar. They're deciding to keep non-GMO seed banks. They're deciding to educate their females as much as their males. And they're deciding to get computer access. And they're deciding all kinds of intelligent things that North Americans are missing out on right now. And that culture, too, has been dragged down by the U.S. corporate reach and the patriarchal implications for their media. And we have to understand, we're getting the big brother is not a smart guy. He's just a very manipulative guy. He's not smart. He's not smart in the way that Carl Alexander Sagan was smart. He's smart in the way, you know, kind of a jerk would be smart. It's a kind of smarts, but it isn't really deep wisdom. It's not wisdom. And so we'll say merci. We'll say Sedleric to Iubesc. To Iubesc, Sedleric, our Romanian-Hungarian connection, our Unitarian Universalists are very integrative of all of the heritages of the world. Our Baha'i connection also working there in the Romanian-Hungarian connection. These obviously both connect to Judeo-Christian and Islamic traditions, which went the patriarchal route for too long. But as you know, in all of those faiths, there's a huge rising feminine trying to stop the nonsense, okay, and go back to Atlantis and have us all have eternal life and become apotheosis female and male. So I think so I'll say all the blessings and all the greetings, and will also include live and love and live eternally young longest and prosper everyone and all, because that's what it means to be a goddess god. You think of everybody, not just yourself or just your little teeny weeny little group. To be a goddess god means you have to think of everybody. And you have to love everybody, because they were all created by the real big goddess god. Okay, so now I'll do more of the ceremony. Okay, we're at the Hatster. Just travel back in time and space. If you're somewhere else in the world right now you're on Interdependence and Rizom Roosevelt Boulevard. It's a place in the heart and a place in the mind and the place in the spirit, as much and as importantly as a place on the ground. We have to visit it on the ground before they have a Fukushima there. But for now, it seems to be holding. I'm asking for intercession for Goddess God, and we're protecting that in all of your homes by this intercession. And so we've gathered there with the mother and her daughter and her two daughters. And we've gathered their two daughters. And we've gathered those two daughters, young woman friend, and their grandson, their great and grandson. We've also gathered the other Shekinah that were their contemporaries, in many time epochs, because our family was there with Rebbetzin and Rashi and the daughters. Our family was there with all those slave women and the troubles that Vashti had and the fears that Esther had and the promise that Xerxes made, Ahasuerus made, of 50 to one woman, but she didn't quite think. She could have asked that for all the women. She saved a group of people. She could have saved humanity had she remembered Atlantis and said 50-50 for all the women, with all of their husbands, not just you, Xerxes, but all of them, in all the decision-making of all the places. And then she would have had democracy. But they didn't think of that then. It took a little while longer. Now we're traveling back to the time around the 1750s, when that land was just being explored by some Frenchmen, many of them were intermarrying with Native American women. It was called Chicago, which means in Native American, an onion. Something with many layers, like space-time. And the heart of the onion is remembering, if you have been oppressed by patriarchy for thousands of years, the heart of the onion, to make that onion open up like a flower that becomes a lotus flower, is to remember to honor the eternal feminine, the women. The women and what they did and what they were doing, and was never making it into the newspapers and never getting reported on, and they weren't there when the decisions were made. So now you're gathered at the hat store, and who's here? We've got Vanessa's family. We've got, we've given them anointed names. We've given them the anointed names of Victoria and Estrella, and Mariama. And we've given her contemporaries Sharon and Raquel with a Q. And we've also got Hadass, and we've got Marion. Marion and Hadass, we really need to say they're particularly important because they represent the Esther that is in the Easter. If you want Easter in spring, you have to remember Queen Esther, and you also have to remember the Celtic goddess Eostra, Esther, and Astarte, and Isis, and all of these names that spell out Esther. It means of the stars. The name Hadass means a myrtle, which is the flower that looks like a star. And it's a reminder that all of the flowers are growing out of photosynthesis, and so are you. You are light. You are made of light. You are matter and energy, and you are made of the balance of matter and energy in this universe. And you are filled with light when you figured this out. It's all about the yin and yang balance. And so, and we're also including, now obviously my sister and I, my sister was wounded by patriarchy. She, like a lot of the women in the 30s and 40s in this culture, got a really bum steer from when their mothers went to their pediatricians. And the pediatricians in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s were telling mothers, you should put your baby on scheduled breastfeeding. They were all telling them that. That was the way it was here in North America. And we have 3 generations of women who therefore have static-filled, troubled memories of their mothers. It has hurt the divine feminine in this culture, but you know, people are so resilient that they still yearn for the love of a mother within themselves and within other people, and they could find it again. We need some, and we have some great light worker, it's called, and holistic family therapy and various methods to cure and heal these wounds that were inflicted on many, many babies and prevent them, most importantly, to prevent them from recurring. We have organizations like La Leche League. We're inviting them here. They're here. We've got women from the La Leche League. We've got Giovanna and let's see, what was another one in Chicago? Susan. They're here. They're here. We've got the La Leche League. They're here. And we've got all the various branches of our family. So we've got little Ya, who was Harriet's younger sister, quite a bit of age difference between them, yet they forged a sisterhood during at least a number of decades of their lives, and that's to their credit. And when it broke down, it's when our family broke down. And so we want to bring Harriet back through the Stargates along with Ray and Clara, because her presence will be the ultimate family reunion and be very, very healing. The name SZTARRIszE combines the great goddess of the pantheon of Greece, the later pantheon of Greece, and also the name of Hera, who was the mother of many of the holy women of the Judeo-Christian traditions too. So that's a very important person to bring through. And Ray obviously is Australia. Also, I'm a reincarnation of her and an improvement, trying to assist the whole world understand what she couldn't have the education to know. Although Ray was very educated and she spoke several languages and was smart enough to see through the hocus pocus that is patriarchal religion and to be a doubter and yet a believer at the same time. She believes in a greater force and a love force, but she was not taken in by what is really obviously nonsense, if you think about it for a moment, of a religion that does not have any holy female in it except one who gives birth to a holy male and no holy females. It's pretty bizarre, but that's what a lot of people think because it's drummed into their little heads from their little babies, and they don't think for themselves once it's drummed in there. So but a lot of us are resilient to that, and you know, we know it has to be balanced. And the ancient traditions were all of balance. They all had goddess and god pairs, yin and yang in balance. They all had it. It was later that we lost that. They had that for thousands of years, 35,000 of years had goddess worship. Where did it go? It went out, especially at the Council of Nicaea, but it also got lost in the area of Judeo-Christianity, of Judaism too, because frankly the women didn't cooperate with each other enough to know that Miriam and Zipporah should have cooperated, and had they done so, Aaron and Moses wouldn't have walked all over them. Okay, that's pretty much part of what I'd have to say. That all their Kazinas should have cooperated, and they shouldn't have been worried about the slight difference in their skin colors, and they would have had heaven on earth right then and there. Okay, we took a little mini break there, and we want to add some more. The women that are gathered here on our branches of family, we're very much importantly gathering and Rita and Marilyn and Ellen and Jessica and Jennifer, remembering Lillian and Molly. We're also gathering Arlene and Thelma, their spirits. Arlene is with us. We're gathering Arlene. She knows this. And Thelma and Lee. We're gathering Bacha and Helene and Sherry, who lives right near the Statue of Liberty and doesn't quite get it, but we're working on it. That's another woman in our family. Sherry has a horror story to tell with her brother, how the genderism of her family affected her. An incredible horror story. And it is about intergenerational family process around gender. And she had a very nice brother. However, on the gender issues, there was a very great breakdown in that family. And she has a story to tell, and we want her to tell it. And we're including Sally and Ruby and Deborah and Paula and both Pearls. And we're including Sally's daughter, Mary, and her granddaughter. I'm not quite sure of her name. I think I was told it at one point. I think it's Kathy. I'm not sure. But we've been in touch with Sally, whose birthday is February 22nd and is very much she's washing the ton of patriarchy away. We are very much including another woman in that way, Susan, another silver kind woman who is already known. She's known for years that I believe that she is one of the true leaders of the land of Israel. That is the land of Israel right now. The men are not. She is one of them. There's several in Israel right now, women who are extremely brilliant and capable, but somehow haven't been cooperating enough to get past this regression that has been going on there, and now is endangering not only the remnant of the Holocaust that lives there, but they're surrounded by people who are endangered by the same process. Look what's going on in Syria. Look what's going on in Iran. Look what's going on in Iraq. They're all endangered by patriarchy. Each and every one of those cultures have the same problem, and they're all looking at each other and saying, you're the bad guy, and you're the bad guy, and you're the bad guy. And you know what? The real bad guy is patriarchy. But they haven't gotten women who are wise enough, except for Esther Herzog and Rianne Eisler, who are Holocaust survivors, who are definitely at the hat store with us here in the gathering in the home. This balance of love and workplace. They told you, and you've had this information from them, especially from Rianne Eisler, since the late 1980s, just around the time Harriet passed. She started publishing the issue of balance of gender as the key issue to avoid genocide and war. So how come you're not listening, ladies, and you can't tell the difference between tokenism, with patriarchy standing behind it, operating the puppet strings, and parity? How come you can't figure that out, ladies? Figure it out, because your kids' lives depend on it. You know that now. And your lives depend on it, and so do the men that you know and supposedly love or think are important. And let's see. So we've included those people. We've included Manasseh's people. And I don't know if I said Soma and Meredith, and we're including Vedanta. Their family has a great tradition. The name of Soma, it goes right back to Vedic in India. And they have done artwork in the area of India and ancient Egypt concerning the women. These women have great understanding. They are definitely included. And all the women of their family, past, present, and future, from Romania and Hungary, that's where they're from. And of course, we've included, along with them, Stacey Anastasia and her mother, Cheryl, and Dorothy, and all of their Shekinah. These women have been involved in corporate life that have had to do with something called insurance. Well, insurance doesn't mean much if you're destroying your world. What are you going to do? Have a great insurance policy when your city blows up in Fukushima? How, you know, they're all insured against nuclear policies, nuclear blowups. The insurance companies covered their ass. If there's a nuclear disaster, they don't have to pay anything. Because the decisions of those companies are being made by all men. And the whole important thing to do is prevent the disaster in the first place. And how do you do that? By having parity decision-making. So the New Millennial Golden Rule makes it easy for every neighborhood on earth. You connect with each other. You can do it through the internet. You don't need any big governments. You don't need any federal governments. The Greens in Germany figured this out, that real government decision-making is occurring, most importantly, as it does in nature, in a diffuse and dispersed way. You don't really need, the way we used to think of it, concentrated federal governments exactly in the way we used to before we had the internet. You don't need it in the way you did before we had the internet. The internet connects everybody. You don't need to gather a Congress in one room. You can gather people online. One of the modalities that we use, in addition to Google Hangouts, allows for a big gathering of people, all who can interact. We'll get to that, because Google Hangouts only allows 10 on at a time at a Hangout. And on Google Hangouts on air, you can't interact beyond 10, 10 or 11, or how many people they bring with them in the room, participants. But there are other gathering softwares on the internet that will allow 100 and 1,000 and 2,000 and 2,500. You can certainly represent the whole world. We already know what we would have passed as legislation. We already know this from the polls of women. They want less money in the military. They want more on education. They want health care for everyone. They want balance of love and work. They want babies to be breastfed. And they want a loving society for everybody. Now, we do have women who are so adjusted to patriarchy that they don't think they want that anymore. They think they want things that their husbands have been telling them to want for a couple of 100 or 1,000 years. And those women don't think for themselves. And occasionally one of them rises up like a Sarah Palin and spouts off things that men would say, for the most part, because she's been in family for years and years and years in which mothers have been suppressed, and she's not into her own full motherhood yet, and her sisterhood yet, and so she can identify with a party that is clearly profoundly male dominated. But this isn't about parties. We're beyond that model. This is about gathering in space and time and going back to your own genealogical heritage and your own neighbor community's heritage and holding the Eleusinian mysteries there. In Chicago, we had also a big gathering of women in the 1893 representatives. It was the Representative Congress of Women that gathered at the 1893 Chicago Columbian Exposition. They're here. Hannah Greenabout Solomon was there. She's here. All of her Shekinah are here. All of the young women who went to their school are here. And you know, we went to high school and another school, and right at the time that that school was named after a general of the revolution who was a German, there were people on both sides, Mennonites, women and men, who were saying, why do you have to go to war to resolve this problem? You don't really need a revolution, do you? We didn't heed that wisdom. We thought we were so smart we got rid of England. But we weren't, because we didn't follow common sense. We didn't get rid of England at all. We just started calling company heads, big companies and plantation owners as the rulers instead of the kings and the lords. We just, you know, had a different group of guys, is essentially what we did. But we pretended we had a big step forward past England. We didn't. We got a little bit forward maybe, but not really so far, because we didn't include women, we didn't include indigenous, and we didn't include people of color. Now, we're also including at this gathering Lillian Gay and all her children and her Shekinahs. She helped raise Jackie. The women of color. The women of color did an enormous amount in this culture. And I obviously say Anna Marie and Ma Patricia. You're out. Everybody's on their land, folks. And the people who are doing lousiest in our very predatory society are people of Native American traditions, and the women are profoundly harmed. And yet they have enormous, I mean really heavy-duty knowledge of herbal healing, of natural cycles, of what to pay attention in your natural world. These women are really brilliant in that way, and you're so busy running after latte at the latest corporate chain of stores that you're missing what all of these women have to tell you. And that's why your life is shortened, and you're running and taking pharmaceuticals and having shortened lives instead of the eternal life that you would have with natural medicine. And also that's very similar to the medicine they had in Atlantis. Medicine really began in Atlantis. The goddess Hera, or Ceres, conferred the gift of medicine on Asclepius, who had 5 daughters who became the big healers. Panacea, Hygeia, I forget all their names. And they were there around for years with Ariadne in Atlantis. But you don't remember that, because your medicine right now is very patriarchally packaged, and you have a lot of women enablers in that field, and they don't know their own value. So if they got a little time to spend some time on the internet, they'd know. The internet is the great educator, better than a university right now. You have brilliant people writing on the internet. Everything you need to know is here. So we're inviting all of them. That's why we're doing these as broadcasts on air. We're inviting everybody in the world to this place, this very holy place that was a home that a mother ran and wanted to have her sister visit, and her sister really didn't visit because they were separated by geography and busyness of other kinds and other commitments. And that was some of the mistakes that my sister and I made. We've been separated by putting other priorities first instead of each other. Now, I'm not doing that so much anymore, but some of the sisters of our world are doing that, especially the older sisters are doing that to the younger sisters. There tends to be a pattern that older siblings in this culture, because it's a highly nuclearized family culture, that older siblings feel a little bit dethroned by their younger siblings. A lot of the older siblings were people raised when breastfeeding wasn't done so well, and they are very vulnerable to emotional cutoff tendencies and habits of cutoff and control of other people in order to cope with their world, instead of the full loving complement that comes when you get a more yin and yang balanced culture. So we can heal those women. Those women are important. They shouldn't be left out. They're very much here at the hat store. Let's see, who have I not mentioned? We have another whole branch of family that came into our family. I'm including Julie and Dory and Arlene and Dana and Dale and Dana and Helen, and I'm including Tracy and Deborah and Annie and Paula and Pauline and all of those women all the way back. I value them. I also have included obviously very brilliant women who are coming to the broadcast, Phyllis and Deborah and Kelly, who have written extensively on the relationships of women and how that figures into patriarchy, and another one named Susan, who is a registered nurse, who's written a great deal about bullying and patriarchy, and many others who we've contacted over the years are being invited and are coming. And we also are including our very famous families. We're including Coretta, we're including Bernice, remembering Yolanda, we're including Christine, who was Martin's sister. We've included them. We've also included obviously, we've included Pearl, Russell's wife. We've included Winona and the other women who work at the White Reservation in Minnesota. We've included Teresa Spence, the head of the First Nations in Canada. We've included all of the 13 grandmothers. All of the 13 grandmothers are included. And that big organization, and all of the other organization that's very similar called I think it's called Natural Security. I forget the name. It's called Security Council, which is a play on the words of the absurdity of the UN's Security Council, which has a world that's totally insecure and loaded up to the hilt with nuclear weapons. You know. We've got those women's organizations. We've got lots of women's organizations that are global, not nationalistic in their view, and environmental organizations that are global, not nationalistically focused. And all the solar people. We've got the solar people like Eden Go and many, many more who are making huge differences all over the world. All the women who we have brought them to put solar panels up where the home and hat stores stood and where your home and your communities are. And I'm also including, let's see, I'm including Barbara and Heidi and Diana and Linda and Diana and Deanna and all of that line who has gotten very caught up in an error. We've included Tracy, we've included, there's another Tracy, and we've included there's many women of the Greek name I'm forgetting who also are associated with some of the men in their families. Oddly enough, they are living in areas that have Greek context, and that is all about Demokritiya and the Eleusinian Mysteries and the establishment of a society that brings people to divinity by eliminating false hierarchies, not keeping patriarchy. So let's see if there's anything else. So let me do the rest of the ceremony. As I said, we have the La Leche League here. We drink the milk of human kindness for all, both in each and every one. Oh, and I also neglected to mention for a very important person, Georgine with Shirley and Malka. Malka and Shirley and all of their family. Very, very important. Very, very important. And so is Geodora, and so is Martha. And so is all of the women of that north side area and the west side area, and working with Stacey, Anastasia, and Cheryl, and breaking down these absurd barriers that people have built up over the years, because it gives them a little island of control. And yeah, you'll be in a little island of control when the Fukushima happens. Not a smart move. So let's erase some of those barriers and melt the ice and be connecting at this place in the heart and the mind and the spirit of space and time. That is the first place, maybe in addition to the Statue of Liberty herself, who is on every continent now. All the Statues of Liberties will become the opening places of the Stargates. I tell you, that's where it will be. And we drink the milk of human kindness for all, both and each and everyone as soon as possible. And maybe about the La Leche headquarters too. That's another place that they'll be. That's where the stargates are going to open up. That's why we call it the Milky Way, folks. It has to do with bonding and spirituality that comes out of bonding, and love thy neighbor, sister, and brother, cousina, and cousin as thyself. That's godhood. That's goddess godhood. If you don't have that, you haven't been paying attention to any major religion. You've just been paying attention to the fact that the guys who've been telling you what the people who came before them that they've mangled their message from have been pretending. They've been puffering and pretending and doing a lot of hocus pocus for you and missing the boat. The real boat is egalitarianism. So we'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both and each and everyone as soon as possible. All those mothers and babies back and forth in time, and all their family communities really supporting that breastfeeding, 2 and 3 years of breastfeeding, natural weaning, and on cue. And knowing that that's so important, the development of creativity, empathy, intelligence of all kinds, both emotional and intellectual intelligence, and resilience to disease, and just general happiness, the happiness quotient. So we'll drink, and for those of you who didn't have it optimally, we can go back, because once you've switched off the patriarchy, just turn off the television, put up the solar panels, you have lots of time. You'll be on the true continuum. You'll have plenty of time to heal the wounds that were given to you under patriarchy. So we'll drink the milk of human kindness for all, both and each and everyone as soon as possible. I represent all, both and each and every one, and I drink on their behalf, intercessorily. There we go. There we are. There we are. You're here. You're in this cup. You're in this cup with all this milk. You're just drinking up that milk. Drink up that milk. That mother's milk. That Milky Way mother's, Goddess Estrella, goddess of all the planets, milk. And we'll also drink the water of enlightened, loving, living planets that will reclaim our planet Earth and all our planets to be via the new millennial golden rule. Past, present, and future, here at this home-based balance of love and workplace of such memory in our family, gathering all the women, all these genius women. And I've got women coming from every field of endeavor. And we're making sure to balance the social sciences and the humanities and the physical and biological sciences, because you can't figure this out unless you get that social science component, that anthropology component, that genealogy aspect, that multiple partial reincarnations aspect that is really there. So we'll drink to the enlightened, loving planets that will reclaim and sustain all our planet Earth and all our planets to be, past, present, and future. As equinox true cues, past, present, and future, I drink and represent all, both and each, for all, both and each, and everyone as soon as possible. Okay, now the birthday cakes. Okay, we've got lots of spring birthdays and conception days coming up, and you've got to remember mine and all the women's who had autumnal spring ones, because when it's autumn in the northern hemisphere, it's spring in the southern hemisphere. So we're spring babies too, and we're uniting the entire world. Anna Marie and I are both born in autumn, and other women of my family, my sister's born in autumn. We have a lot of young people in our family whose birthdays are clustering in March, April, and May. Very, very important now, so we really want to give priority to them. So we'll start with them, but we'll also pair them with the women of the autumnal times. We'll let you come together, because the women, ladies, you autumnal ladies, you golden rule ladies, you've been kind of missing the boat, and you've been crowding the time of these younger people. So you're going to have to let them come in with you a little bit more as peers. They're in their 30s already, a lot of them. They're not in their teens and 20s anymore. So you're going to have to bring them in with you, but also focusing on the women and helping the young men know that by doing that, they get their wizard-like, godlike powers. When the men give the women their full goddesshood, divine democracy powers in their thinking, it's very important, and advocate for it. They get their wizard-like, godlike powers, and they do better than Merlin. Okay, they're better than Merlin. They're more like Marsyas or Triptolemenos or the gods or Dionysius without having to use any substances. They'll get the mindset that opens the mind to space travel, just like the true cues of Star Trek and the equinox of Stargate. So we'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holy days together. Past, present, and future is equinox true cues, co-saviorahs, co-secretary generals. We don't worry about national boundaries anymore. We have the internet. We're going to keep that open to the entire world and start improving the access of people all around the world. And we're going to celebrate and re-celebrate all, switch the reciprocal position, and we'll celebrate and re-celebrate all our birthdays, conception days, name days, and holy days together. Past, present, and future is equinox true cues, so that all these ladies who found the gathering place and all the ones who could have gathered there, like Lynn and her sisters, Lynn Margulies with her sisters Joan and Sharon, and Diane and their daughter Jessica, and now they have sons who also are married to daughters-in-law. All of these women are here, and of course Carl Alexander Sagan's sister and mother Rachel, who I partially reincarnated, and Carrie and others are here. Okay, and we celebrated their birthdays and conception days too. And we're bringing the Lynn Margulies and Carl Sagan. What if they're, well, you know, it was kind of good she had the second marriage because it focuses us on the silicon, the sand particle, the most common particle on Earth that makes the internet and the solar panel, the big power technologies of democracy. And so now we've done the cakes, and now we'll do our consciousness currency. Scroll down on 5050 now at WordPress.com. You'll see the section on infinite wealth, and it's called, I really should have called it the Pocahontas Sojourner Truths, Susan B. Anthony and Mariam and Tom Lambert Payne consciousness currency galleries. But we have women from every tradition in every part of the world and every ethnic group and racial group in North America. They're all represented, and also some of the youth are represented there. Certainly our family is. And you also see your names in the section on the congresses and the assemblies, Congress courts and assemblies. Your names are all there, and all of your names are there. And if anyone sees their name missing, call me and I'll put it there. But they're implied to be there. And here are consciousness currencies of our great and grandmothers, our current Shekinas, and our young Shekinas and Hekinas, age 37 and younger, and all those men who will begin to admit that there is something wrong with patriarchy, and they're ready to ditch it, and they're ready to follow the new millennial golden rule. Older men who are willing to say that are also included. And we'll say, we'll do our kisses, 5 sets of 11. And here we have our larger pictures of our family tree. You see it online on the graphics, but these imply all the people I've mentioned and more. I should have mentioned also Esther and her mother Ilsa, Judy and Sarah, and another Judy here in May. And we've got Louise and her mother Elizabeth, and her daughter, I'm forgetting her name, is it Eileen? And there's a granddaughter there too, I don't know the name. But I'm including them all of them, my neighbors, your neighbors, everyone, Georgine, of course, and everyone's neighbors, and the family. This is the family community that would gather at this place, this magical place, that we can now gather as many of us as we want to, 10, 15, 100, 15, 225 of us. We can all gather in various ways, and we can also gather in our various places and hold the gatherings there. And we'll say our kisses. Okay, and also my very special family that is so struggling with any sense of bondedness to me because they're so drunk with patriarchy, they can't think straight. But I love them anyway because I know how great they are. I was with them when they were children. And this young lady who's a loving of them and has the future of their family and my family and all of our family also in the respect that she should have and the fullness of equality that she should have with her young man and with all of you as young women and young men who are in our next generations. I'm holding up her to represent her family 5 fingers, because we want at least those numbers of her family to gather with us too. And of course, my sister and I and all of our Shekhinah, past, present, future, and Kazinas, and all of the younger people. So they're all represented, even though I'm just holding them because I have special bond to them, and that's normal. If you have a deep bond to people who you knew as a child, is very normal, and especially people who were raised by your own parents or descendants of your own great and grandparents. It's a normal thing, but that doesn't mean you exclude the rest of the extended family. And when you do exclude the rest of the extended family, you know you're doing something wrong. And the only way, if you can only let the people in who are patriarchal into your network, then you're doing something very, very wrong. Very wrong and very dangerous, with huge ripple effects implications. So we'll do the kisses for them. For the younger generations who have waited so long, and sisters who we really need to get our act together, don't we? I've got mine together. How about it now? And we include Georgine in this and her sister Kazinas, because the community aspect is very, very important to us. So we are going to add that into this picture. And again. And now I'll do the entire family tree again. Okay. This is the multiple generational family tree with the goddess grandmothers and their sisters and Kazinas all represented at the top, and then our middle generation of Shekhinahs, and then our current generations of younger people, age 37 and younger, female and male, also here. And this is, it looks like a tree, but ultimately, like when a tree grows, then once the leaves are all there, it's like a big circle. And all the leaves are equally important to the nourishment of the tree. And of course, this does very much include Anna Maria and her mother and all their Shekhinah. I think I've mentioned Laura and Martha, and also April and Rosa and Angela and Edith, and also their sons, Shannon, Ben and John, who are all under age 37 also. Okay, and okay, and now we'll do our fruit. And here's our clear bowl of our fruit representing all of us, our beautiful colors of the rainbow that we are. We are the gems of photosynthesis become human. We are energy, we are light. And that's why we eat, to give us the matter that is derived from the light of the universe, the light of the sun, our nearest star, and we are star stuffs. So we'll start fresh, like fresh fruit, on our orchard trees that we'll plant everywhere. And we'll start fresh with parity, paradise, instead of patriarchal, planeticide, plutonic, patriarchal, planeticide. Okay, and now we'll also do this as we always do. We remind you to watch Mary Poppins. Get into the minds of yourself as children and start laughing the way they do in some of the scenes of Mary Poppins, and start gathering with me. And you'll understand that we have to teach men that it isn't about money, it's about family. And we have to teach women that it's about their integrity and they're standing up for one another. And it's also about putting solar panels instead of chimneys on house tops. So we'll say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and we'll say all the blessings of all the languages and all the heritages of our earth and our earth's past, present, and future. And as Co-Secretary General's Co-Secretary True Cues, Equinox True Cues. You know, also one other thing about Mary Poppins, there's a very moving scene in Mary Poppins of an old woman who sings a song called Feed the Birds, Poppins a Bag. She looks like a woman who's homeless. She looks like a woman who is treated very poorly by her society. We have a lot of women like that in our society, and they have enormous love and enormous wisdom, but they're not accumulating wealth according to the male concept of wealth, which is the gross domestic product, which everyone since Robert F. Kennedy has said is not serving us. Any economist worth their salt has said it is not working, and yet our political environment is hanging on to it. That tells you how absurd. Go and read about the genuine progress indicator and understand what a woman like that would be worth in the genuine progress indicator if people gathered around her at her feet and had her stories. And she wasn't just feeding birds, she was feeding great and grandchildren with her knowledge of the world and her memories. And then you would have an understanding of what's real wealth. Okay, and because if you make love worth nothing and title and accumulated wealth that is never distributed, even according to the patriarchal jubilees, as meaning so much, then you destroy your world. It's going to fall. It's going to collapse. It's so imbalanced, it's just going to collapse. And so we'll say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and we'll say all the blessings and all the greetings of all the heritages of all the languages of our earth and our earth's past, present, and future together. Okay, and that should do it for our broadcast today. And we hope you've enjoyed this. And I'm going to be sending this message right now. And I think everybody who needs to know about it knows that it's here. And everybody's been told about this line and given this line. So I hope you all will be listening to it and know that was broadcast online. And we usually have somewhere between 5 to 25 people eventually reaching each video that I make. So we've had over 200-some thousand, close to 211,000, I'd like to say, and already. And that can easily become millions when people understand and digest what is the incredible gift of the New Millennial Golden Rule. I'm sending this message. Every blessing. Namaste.
To save this message, press 1. To hear it again, press 2. To re-record this message, press 3. Your greeting has been saved. To change extension type, press 1. To record extension name, press 2. To manage greeting, press 3. To hear messages recorded in this extension, press 4.